When you say grow on LinkedIn, what does that mean? Because a lot of people, they always think, I want to grow on LinkedIn. And then they think about the followers and the likes and the impressions and things. And I'm not trying to give a politician's answer and get around the question here. But I think a lot of people, the question is why? Why do they want to grow? And a lot of people have seen it before. Someone said to me like, I want to hit 100,000 followers. Why? Like, what's the goal? And it's interesting because a lot of people, there's a thing out there called 1,000 true fans. It's a concept that's it's been around for years, but it's something that I'm very, very big on. And it's essentially to build a successful online business, all you need is 1,000 true fans that will buy from you. So if you have 1,000 people that would pay you $100 for something once a year, you've got a six-figure $100,000 business. You can play with the numbers. Say, instead of it being $100, it's $1,000. Well, you only need 100 true fans.
Before we dive into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us grow and inspire more people on their journeys. Thank you. Hello, Luke. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
My pleasure. No, thank you for having me.
Luke, for those who don't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Luke Redhead. I help solopreneurs and small business founders to build a brand and build an online business.
As I was having a look at your background on your LinkedIn, Luke, I saw that before doing this, it doesn't really show any other type of experience. So I was curious if this is something that you always wanted to do.
Yeah, it's not by not trying to hide anything at all. It was a couple of years ago and I can't remember why, but I did remove a lot of it. But yeah, prior to doing this, I was working, I started my kind of professional career as such as a IT support, service desk. And the team I went into were all very, very clever, very IT savvy, switched on people. And obviously I was fresh out of school. I had nowhere near the experience that they did. But one of the things that they ended up asking for a lot of help with was, writing replies to customers, creating emails and things. So I kind of ended up being more of the comms person. And that kind of snowballed, over the next coming years into more of the different roles that I went into. It was very much around writing and communicating and creating. And then about 6 years ago now, I moved out of my parents' house. I got my first house. I was living by myself. And I was really bored. I had nothing to do. I had no money. I was like, okay, well, this isn't good. This isn't fun.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do? I've got no money and loads of time. I thought, well, why not use the writing and do it for other businesses as well in the evening and just see how it goes. If it doesn't work, at least I'm not bored. If it does work, great. I'm still not bored and I've made a bit of extra money. And that is what snowballed into me then coming onto LinkedIn. Then as I was doing that, I started to realize actually it's more than just the writing. Still, and I always will love the writing and being a writer and creating the content. But doing that for people, I was like, actually, there's more to it. They need to learn how to create offers, how to have the communications, how to, write in the DMs, how to communicate on a call, And that's what spiraled into this business solopreneurship area that I'm in now. So yeah, it's not hiding anything. I remember about 6 or 7 years ago, I remember removing the experience and I can't remember the logic why I did it. And I need to go and add it back, to be fair, because it's a good point you raised. A few people have mentioned it. I just haven't.
No, it wasn't that I would be trying to ask you about any secrets. I just saw it and I thought that maybe you were bold straight after your studies and you were like, okay, I finished my studies. I'm going to set up my business. I know straight what to do. Because it will be quite
completely
impressive.
The opposite. Completely opposite. I left school, no idea about no plan to start a business at any, at that point at all. I was 100% climb the corporate ladder and do well. I never actually went to university. I left school and I just went straight into work because at the time I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I quite like computers. I want to go and work with them. Obviously got this job as a IT support, a help desk technician kind of role. And after about a year of doing that, I realized I didn't like working with computers. I didn't not like. I liked working with computers. I didn't like, like taking them apart and do. I was like, this isn't what I enjoy as much,
Yeah,
and I quite liked the writing and stuff. And I was like, and then it was a snowball effect. But it was about 2 years ago. Obviously I was working, still had my corporate role and everything there. And I was doing, working with a couple of clients in the evening still at that stage. And I was laid off work with no warning. It was literally one morning, logged on, and I got a message invite to a meeting. No description, nothing. It was just meeting, 10 minutes time, join. And I was like, And I joined, and like we're talking now, and there was a guy on the screen, and then there was me and 100 other people all sat there, and it was like, this isn't going to be good. And that was
God.
it.
Was it
20
all
minutes
of those
later, we were
people?
all of us, yeah. Company went under like the night before, and that was it. You were all unemployed, effective immediately. So then I was like, okay.
Is the reason secret, or can you share why was that?
It was just due to investors, and the company was going through a bit of a transition time, and one of the main investors pulled out, and it just took it below. I think, as far as I understand, it took it kind of below what the company needed, so it just kind of ran out of money very quickly without any warning. But it was, for me, I was working, as I say, like I had a couple of clients, so I thought, you know what, I spent a couple of months looking for jobs. It was a very tough time with the job market. I literally got no replies. Like very, very, very few companies came back to me, and I was just like, look, I can keep doing this, or I've got a couple of clients. I know this thing works. I could just go for it, give it. And I did. I just said 3 months. Let's just see what happens. And in those 3 months, I got 10 new clients, and my monthly revenue was the same. I think it was actually slightly higher than my old salary at that point. And then I was like, cool, I'm doing this. So that's how I ended up in business as I am now. I never fully planned to actually go, I never left school going, I'm going to start a business. It's just the way life has turned out. But I'm glad it has.
Yeah, I'm glad that I asked you, because even though you spent a year working the job that you actually didn't like, at least you found out that you don't like it, because sometimes people might be asking, oh, what if I tried? Or they may spend working there for much longer. But if you try, it doesn't work, you switch, and that's how you discover what you actually enjoy.
I completely agree. And it's, yeah. And I say this like, I actually really loved the job itself. Like, and I loved the people. But for me at the time, I was like, do I want to do this for the next 40 years, 50 years, whatever it'll be? Because I was literally fresh out of school, 18 years old. Do I want to do this?
Motivated and full of energy.
Something like that. And I was like, do I want to do this forever? And I was like, actually, no. I enjoyed it, but I didn't want to do it forever. And that was the thing for me when I was like, okay. And then I was like, I actually really like the communicating and the, this side of it. And then I ended up, I was lucky. I had an amazing boss who actually helped me move into other roles within the company. So then I moved into like a project management role. And then there was parts of that I thought, cool, I love this. And then this bit's, I didn't love this bit. And then I moved into other roles and stuff. But I think that experience has, taught me so much. Like now, being a, solopreneur and running this business, like I know a lot about project management. I know a lot about, like customer servicey things. I know a lot about a lot of things that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't done all those jobs as well. So it's all positive. It's only helped me to get here.
Exactly. And it might sound like a cliche, of course, because when you lose your job, you don't, I mean, it's negative and bad news, but at the same time, it's been like a catalyst and a big moment for you that kind of literally changed everything, because that's how you embarked on a new journey and completely different career path.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if you're a big believer in fate and things like that, but it certainly made me think maybe there is, a plan, like the universe has an idea, because it kind of it forced me to take the chance, and I was always too scared to, like I always had it in my mind, like I'd love to start, a business and work
Mm.
for myself and do this and do that. But I was just, I had a good job. Like I had a lot of flexibility. I worked with great people. I had a nice salary. I was so comfortable. And I thought, I don't want to throw all of that away for something that's, not certain and scary. So, I've never had that brave enough or maybe even deep enough desire to let go of all of that to then pursue the unknown, the uncertainty, the scary thing.
I completely agree and understand.
I was forced to. So, and I'm glad
Yeah.
about it. It's worked out. It's really, really, it's fantastic now. But yeah, it was a very scary thing and
Mm.
something that I would never have just done off my own. I would never have gone, do you know what? I'm quitting this job. I'm going to do it. I'm a big believer in enjoying life. And for me, I had a good job, flexibility. I had the freedom to, you know, log off at the end of the day. I was out with friends. I had, good money.
Yeah.
What more did you need? And that was kind of the way I thought about it.
Yeah, I hope it inspires other people because even I know people who are not happy in the job they do, but when you talk to them, if they are going to do something about it, they're like, yeah, one day. But then you talk to them later, and so have you done it? Not yet.
Yeah, it's such a common thing, and I think it affects everyone in different ways. But I see so many people who, for example, like you say, oh, I'll do something about it, another day. I'll get there eventually. Things, but time
Yeah,
goes far too quickly. I've learned that.
exactly. And honestly, I struggle with that as well. That is why I like to talk to people and hear, for example, what you just say now as well, because it reminds me too that I always try to think that the regret of not doing something is the worst. Because in the future, if I'm thinking, oh, if I did this and that back then, it could have been totally different, you know?
One thing I teach, I share with all my clients, and it's something that I've used a lot. And it's a method. I call it like the 90-year-old self. And it's very simple. When you're faced with this kind of decision, you think, when I'm 90, what will I think about the decision I'm taking? So for me, I'm going to get to 90 years old. I'll sit in a rocking chair and, I'll look back over life. And I think now, like, obviously, building a business is incredibly tough. Like it's incredibly rewarding, but it's a very hard and very mentally hard thing. But when I'm 90, I gotta look back and go, do you know what? I'm glad I did that. Like, I'm glad I went for it. Because at that stage, whether it worked or not, it won't matter. I just don't want to get to that age and go, do you know what? I wish I'd done it differently. I wish I'd tried something different. I wish I'd taken that chance. Because that's, we're not here forever. We've all got limited time. You might as well make the most of it. So that's how I think about a lot of those things, just to make sure, am I actually thinking about this logically? Am I doing the right thing, or am I just scared? Am I worried? Whatever it is, it just helps to rationalize that thinking.
No, I totally agree. And I think it's a great kind of exercise that makes you think differently or think twice. And as we've just been talking about starting a business, before you started yours, whether it's like your company or being a solopreneur, did you see it like exciting start that it's going to be kind of easy, or were you scared, or what were your feelings like?
No, I'm terrified. uh, no, that's a lie. I wasn't terrified. I was quite excited because I had the comfort of security behind. So if I didn't have that, it would have been a lot scarier. But I was very excited. The hardest bit for me was when it didn't work out as I'd hoped it would. I went into starting this business with the mentality of, like, I know how to write, I can help, I can write for other people, I can do it. Brilliant. And I made the mistake I think a lot of people make of just going out and thinking, oh yeah, people need content writing for them. I'll just say I'm available for work, and a couple of people will reach out. And then they didn't. And then I was like, oh, what do I do now? Like, and that was the moment where I was a bit, and
Yeah.
that was tough, but exciting, but then scary.
Mhm. So, based on this experience, is there something that you'd recommend people or advise to focus on when they are starting their own business or they want to be freelancers? Like maybe what not to underestimate in the beginning?
I mean, one of the hardest things any freelancer, new business owner will face is the mindset challenges and getting, you can have all the right tools and everything you need, but if you struggle to act on them, if you've got those doubts in the back of your mind, it's hard to then just mentally act through them as well. So for me, one of the best things that I did there was give yourself a good runway. Don't people always say like, they're quitting a 9 to 5 with no backup plan, but start if you can whilst you've got the comfort, build up a bit of a runway. And then when you've kind of figured out what works, once you've got a little bit of comfort with the business moving, then do the jump. Make it as easy as you can for yourself. That's the biggest thing. Because if you don't, it is 10 times harder. Really tough.
Yeah, I can agree. Like, try to start as early as possible. Do it on the side so that there's not too much pressure. And then once you see that it's building up, growing, and you feel more comfortable, then maybe focus on it a bit more. So that's a good one.
Yeah. If you can get 2 or 3 clients, it's not a fluke. You've proved it works, and then you can go and get more. And then once you get more, then you can start to streamline, test, you kind of get a gist of what's working. If you're doing like building a brand and creating content, you start to learn what content resonates, what content attracts the right people, but only because you've proven that. And I think if you can start, or if you were to take that leap with a good idea, actually, that kind of worked well, or this has worked for me already, it's not a guessing game. You've got a strategy, and that will make it a lot easier.
And I think it also makes you more confident that you've got some kind of proof behind it that it's going to work, so you don't have any doubts and makes it easier. And as you said, Luke, before that when you started to focus on this type of career, how did you basically start learning or developing the skills? Because I know that you been interested in it while you were working in your previous job, but did you like do, I don't know, some kind of course or self-education or just trial and error, or how did you go about it?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. We are in especially for what I'm doing with building brands and creating content and all of that good stuff. We're all marketers at the end of the day, and we all have to test and figure things out. So over the last 4 years or so, I mean, I think at least 2,000 posts I've written. The amount of draft posts that didn't make it out, there must be another 1 or 2,000 there. There's so many reps that have gone into that. There's a lot. And then I found I got to a stage where I kind of had, I don't want this to sound gloaty at all, but I kind of had a lot of experience already from the work I'd done previously. And I took all of that in, built basically the business around that. And then that's when I hit a stage where I thought, right, well, I know these are the areas I want to improve. Now I need to go and find someone 2, 3, 4 levels ahead of me that I can learn from to teach me where to level this up and excel from there. Mm-hmm. So that's where I started investing in more coaches and getting more support from experts way higher than me, so that I could learn and I could level up more as well. So yeah, it's a common thing. I think a lot of people, they think they don't start because they don't feel that they're ready, but most people, no one's at the top of their game. No one's perfect when they start.
Yeah.
But no one's at zero. They've all got experience and a story and, lived things that they've done. And that is often enough just to start. If you can use that and you can help someone get from, level 1 to level 2, that's good enough, because you can learn to get from yourself from level 2 to level 3 to level 4. And you keep leveling up as you keep bringing people with you as well. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of self-learning. I mean, hundreds of hours of self-learning, thousands upon thousands invested in coaches and things, but it's all worth it.
Yeah, it pays off over time. And I'm glad that you mentioned the number of posts, because as you've been showing up on, for example, LinkedIn for some time, and you get into the rhythm, into the routine, posting regularly, But if you think about it, as you said, like if you post really regularly and how many posts it is, it's crazy number. Like as you said, I don't know, 3K posts or how many was it? It's a real experience, yeah.
Yeah, thousands. I mean, that's across for me and for clients that I've done, written for in the past, and then
Oh yeah, clients on top of it, of course.
yeah. I did something about a year ago because I used to have like a Notion page of just drafts that I have an idea, I just chuck it in there and things, but it just kept growing to the point where I was putting more drafts in than there was people coming out the other side. And I cleared that out, and I've done it plenty of times just to keep it tidy. But that time I remember doing it, it was after I hadn't touched it for a couple of months. And I remember going through it, it was like, are you sure you want to delete like 400 entries?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't want to. Need to, but because I was never going to use them. But
You just need to create a new page.
I know that was the other problem. I used to do it on my phone on the notes page, and that used to get so full that it would actually start to crash the notes app. So then I started a new, and then it just got crazy.
I mean, it makes me laugh because I'm the same. I use notes on my iPhone, and because I've got too many, it's so extremely slow. But still, I'm used to it, and I don't know, and I feel sorry to delete it. So it just made me laugh that you just mentioned it.
Yeah. I think we all do it. You're not the only one, and I'm definitely not the only one who's done that.
Are you struggling to stay consistent on LinkedIn? Fan Post helps you create high-quality posts in minutes, so you can write faster, show up more, and stress way less. Built by creators for creators. It's the easiest way to grow your presence without burning out. Try it free at fanpost.com. And as you were starting out, when did LinkedIn come to the place? Or maybe why did you choose LinkedIn or not some other platform?
I actually did. So, I started on as a freelance platform called Fiverr, and so that's where I first started writing. And it was a slow start, but as momentum built, it really started to pick up. And there was a lot of little one-off, literally £5 or $5, little bits of work there and stuff. But I think it was about 130, 140 clients through there. Some were big projects, some were literally, can you just proofread this advert for all sort of thing. But yeah, and then I thought, you know what, this is going well, but I didn't want to solely build a business on another platform where if something happens, like if they decide, what, we've made enough money, we're going to shut Fiverr down now, like I didn't want my business to go with that. So then I thought I'd start posting on socials, because I was doing a lot for clients on there for their social content anyway. And very, very new to the game, I posted everywhere. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and there was a fifth one that I can't remember now. But out of all of them, it was LinkedIn was the one I enjoyed the most. And I actually saw, I don't know, it felt different to me because I could kind of see more of a human aspect to that at the time. The style, the kind of people there were more aligned with what I was trying to do. So then I thought, well, let's just channel, all this effort into one platform and see what happens from it. And yeah, the rest is history.
Been there since then?
Yeah. Literally, that was back in 2021. So that was 4 years ago. And and here we are now.
And right now, do you still, as far as I've done the research, I didn't see, but do you still post on any other platforms, maybe with lower frequency or LinkedIn only?
Not really. I do sometimes use like Threads is quite cool. I've seen a lot of people talking about Substack as well, so I've got my eye on that. But it's one of those things. Is it? I'm very mindful. Is this a need now, or is this a distraction? And I think from my model, my approach, and this is what I do with clients, the whole idea is we use the socials to build this brand, to get their name out there. to build this community and attract the right people. I do a lot. We talk a lot about LinkedIn because that's where we do a lot of things, but it's not the only platform where people are. So instead, all the content strategy, everything I teach in terms of how to write posts, how to structure them, hook writing and the strategy about what to post and when and all of that, it's not necessarily LinkedIn specific. It's more focused for their audience. So as if they were to go, actually, I'm going to try using Threads and Twitter and just repurpose the posts there. It still works well. It's not LinkedIn specific. It's still audience human focused. And then the ultimate goal is attracting those people and then just giving them somewhere to go. So for me, that's a newsletter and getting people onto that. It doesn't need to just solely be on LinkedIn for that as well. So so I'm kind of thinking it's one thing I've got my eye on at the minute to start branching out on other platforms, but it's just not something I've done yet just because there's been other higher priority things going on.
Yeah, I totally understand. And as we are talking about what you do, actually, what is a type of clients that you work with? Are you specific to certain demographics, or can be anyone?
It could be anyone. I'm not the biggest fan of demographics specifically, just because people are so varied in the way they think now more than ever. So instead, I'm quite set on what what are known as psychographics. And it's more about, instead of it being a demographic, this person who's this age in this job title and this location, it can be anyone in the world who's facing this problem and wants to get to this outcome, and they're struggling with this and need help learning how to do this. And then it can be anyone. So, I've got at the minute, one of my clients, he's had a great career in the corporate world and he's done some really, really good things. And he's older than me, but he's now wanting to go into build his own kind of consulting business, like as a solopreneur, and go into these businesses and help them to do the same now. Whereas there's someone else that I'm working with who's similar age to me. They are early in their career, but they want to build this brand to get them opportunities and build this business early on rather than go into a 9 to 5, because that's the life that they want to build for themselves anyway. So it's very cool. But ultimately for me, it comes down to the solopreneurs, the small business founders. They want to build this personal brand. They want to get themselves out there. They want to attract the right people. They want to get a business that's not, it's not a massive business. It doesn't need to be, but one that gives them flexibility, freedom, earn good money, work on their terms, work with the people they enjoy working with, and do work that they enjoy so that they just ultimately enjoy life. That's the core focus for me.
I think what you said before is something that makes it kind of beautiful or fun at the same time, because if you work with different types of people from different backgrounds, for example, different ages, careers, goals, I think that's what makes it actually fun, challenging, and unique, because it's always a different challenge, different, something exciting, or at least from my point of view, that's what I would enjoy.
I agree. Yeah, it's nice because people are, everyone's different, but it's nice. And this is where people, I think, get niching a bit wrong, or they make niching harder for themselves than it needs to be. Everyone tries, when they think about niching, it's the demographics. I need to find this type of person in this way, da da da. Whereas if you can find people who have got the same beliefs and the same vision and the same goal, and they want to do it in the same way, they can be completely wildly different, but they're all motivated by the same thing in the same way. And then you can just adapt the approach. So there's one client I'm working with at the minute, a fantastic writer, just naturally fantastic writer. So it's really fun to look at their posts and we can go, cool, this is where we could tweak the hook, for example, we could do this. And then there's someone else who's not a natural writer and we have to put more structure in and say, right, okay, well, here's the flow of how to do this. Here's where to get the ideas from. Here's why this hook works. And both people are working towards the same goal in the same way, but they just need the different level of support. And it's really fun to be able to do that, rather than just chasing or trying to find repeats and copies of the same person. It's nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that in the end, it's also about what type of people you work with. So whether it's someone who needs more help or less help, as long as it's a nice person that you enjoy working with, it's for me, it's just a win.
Definitely is, yeah. And this is it. And it's, if you can change their life for the better in some way, then that's great. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves for one type of result all the time. So for example, in this game, everyone thinks about the number of leads or clients that you get, or, as a ghostwriter, it's always, how many impressions and likes have we got? But, I mean, one of my biggest wins this week is one of my clients, we had a call on Tuesday. And in that call, we were talking, we had a big strategy session, we planned things out. And we realized that what they were focusing on, their positioning, there was actually potentially a different way that they could do that. And they could reposition their skills rather than just helping corporations and big businesses. Actually, they've got the skills to help anyone to learn, like the communication and the negotiation skills and things like that. So we said, actually, why don't we reposition that? And it was that penny drop moment. You could kind of see it in the call and in their face. They were like, actually, yeah, I like that. That's cool. There's no number against that. There's no metric to measure, but that's a moment that's so, I find those moments so good. And that's, I think, is the hard bit is people go, oh, but they've not got 10 times ROI and this and that. But, they've got such a, renewed vision and excitement and passion and drive to make something that they love doing into a business again, and seeing the path and the way to do it. Like that it's incredible. So yeah, I think that's an important point as well.
I agree, and especially for you being the one who helps someone to discover it or steer them in the right direction so that they come up with such a realization, it must be great sense of fulfillment.
Oh, massively. I mean, the numbers are nice as well, of course.
Everyone likes if you have like 1,000 engagement, of course.
Yeah, I mean, so I did a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and I shared my content strategy of how to go pretty much from a blank page to a fully written post, was the strategy. And yeah, I spoke to someone yesterday who joined that workshop, and I said, oh yeah, how are things going? And they said, oh yeah, it's been really helpful to know how to write, how to structure this, how to know who to write for, what makes the post engaging, what gets the attention and stuff. And they said, oh, I actually had a post, and they said to me, I had a post that went semi-viral. I said, what do you mean semi-viral? And this post, last time I checked, is at over 5,000 likes and God knows how many impressions. And I was like, that's a bit more than semi-viral. For LinkedIn, that's very viral. That's incredible. But the win behind that was, yes, those numbers are great. But for them, it was this, hang on, this is possible. Like, this works. Like, I can do this. That was the win in my eyes, that they could go, cool. So the next time they sit down to write, this has worked. Like, oh my God, imagine if I do that again, like another post that does that. I've done it before.
Yeah, or even more.
Confidence. The numbers are great, but it goes deeper. It always goes deeper than that.
Yeah. And of course, you cannot probably generalize, but working with many clients, are there like any common, let's say, mistakes or obstacles that your clients or people that you work with struggle with or face or approach you with?
There always is. And it's one thing I'm always transparent about in the early stages. When we first start talking, I always say this isn't a smooth, straight path, but that's the fun of it. There will be moments where we learn, we test. Oh, that didn't work as well as it could have done. Cool. What's the data? Like, why? Why didn't it? What can we learn from it for next time? So there's always moments like that. I mean, I just shared then, obviously, that person whose post got, 5,500 likes on it, however many impressions it got. But there'll be other posts that don't get anywhere near that, of course. It's not a guaranteed hit thing.
Also depends if LinkedIn algorithm likes you.
There's 100,000 factors. There's 100,000 other factors that determine it. And it's such a complicated game. Yeah, I mean, people make mistakes all the time, and but I think this is a good thing. As long as these mistakes don't hurt anyone else, it's a good thing because it's a lesson learned and it's a
Mhm.
credibility thing. It's like if you do, I mean, I've done, like I say, I've written thousands of posts. Most of them haven't performed that well when you look at the numbers. And that is great because then I can talk about it. Say, like, for argument's sake, I've written 1,000 posts, 700 of them flopped. Here's why the other 300 didn't. Like, here's what I learned from doing that. And that's such a good position to be in rather than I wrote one post and it went viral because you've got so much more of a relatable story, so much more credibility that you actually become more valuable from doing that anyway. So, yeah, I think mistakes are a good thing. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as long as you learn from it. And when it comes to improving yourself and learning, what are like your sources of education or inspiration, whether it's studying from any specific people or any courses or any other resources?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of learn, from those two steps ahead. So the people that are just at that next level that have faced kind of the barriers that I'm at, how did they get there? What have they done? What have they learned and things? But also, like, what are my drawbacks at the minute? So one of mine about 2 months ago was that I was very unstrategic, I think. Not very, but there was a lot of, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, as quite scattered rather than being very systemized. So I thought, okay, content was one. I'd sit down most days and be like, I need to write a post. Where do I find a post? What can I do? What can I talk about? What's this? What's that? So I was like, okay, fix that. So now on a Thursday, I sit down. I've got all these prompts to pick out the good ideas I need. I've got a strategy, knowing who I want to write for. What do I kind of want the outcome of that to be? I've got flows to kind of guide my writing. And then I've got hooks there to inspire different ways of grabbing attention and things like that. So now I sit down. It's never oh God, I need to write. Where can I get an idea? What can I do? What can I do? It's all there. And it tells, this system tells me what I need to think about
Yeah.
rather than just, write about this. It asks the right questions. Oh, actually, I could talk about that happened this week. I could write about this and guide it here, and here's how to structure it. So then the thinking I do is only creative thinking. It minimizes the effort I need to do and the brain power so I can get more done quicker. It's the idea.
Yeah, that is. So have you done your work yesterday?
I did. I actually did. Yeah, I wrote. So yesterday I wrote 6 posts yesterday, and I planned out my full newsletter. I do it once a week at the minute,
Mhm.
and I planned out everything I need to write about in there. And then after this, I'm gonna sit down and write the newsletter. So and that took me only a couple of hours yesterday to do it all, which before would have taken me 2 days.
I understand, and I agree. And it's just speaking of a newsletter, do you want to kind of promote it? What is it that you write about? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. So for me, it's a place to just share the deeper and the more, I can say, more insightful things. So, things that I'm working on at the minute, or things that I've noticed, or stuff that I'm working on with clients. And I can just go really deep into the strategies, why we're doing it that way, or why this works. It's all the stuff that you can't cram into a single post. It's a lot deeper, a lot more information, but as well, a lot more value in there. I won't lie and say there's not any offers in there, because there is, but it's always stuff that I think is gonna help people. So
Yeah.
whether it's like a workshop I'm doing, or whether it's I've got a couple of spaces or something like that, it's in there. But it's all with good intention of helping people. So yeah,
And people can subscribe on your website, right?
absolutely can. Yeah.
Mhm. I will add the link to the show notes. And I'm sure, Luke, this is probably a bit maybe annoying question that I'm pretty sure you get a lot as well. But when someone asks you, like on LinkedIn in your DMs, like, Luke, what's the advice how to grow on LinkedIn, what do you say, or what would be your answer? Because I get this question as well, and I want to hear what would you say.
Yeah, I had this the other day. I mean, when you say grow on LinkedIn, what does that mean? Because a lot of people they always think I want to grow on LinkedIn, and then they think about the followers and the likes and the impressions and things. But and I'm not trying to give a politician's answer and get around the question here, but I think a lot of people, the question is why, you know, why do they want to grow, and a lot of people, I've seen it before. Someone said to me like, I want to hit 100,000 followers. Like, what's the goal? And it's interesting because a lot of people, there's a thing out there called 1,000 true fans, which is it's a concept that it's been around for years, but it's something that I'm very, very big on. And it's essentially, to build a successful online business, all you need is 1,000 true fans that will buy from you. So if you have 1,000 people that would pay you $100 for something once a year, you've got a six-figure $100,000 business. And you can play with the numbers. Let's say, instead of it being $100, it's $1,000. Well, you only need 100 true fans. Let's say you have a coaching program and each client, is worth $10,000 over the course of a year. Well, now you only need 10 true fans. And I think that's, when you get clear on that, that's when you can properly start to grow on LinkedIn and other platforms. Because then, I'm trying to reach the true fans, the people that I can help get from A to B, the people facing this problem, the people that are stuck at this point and want to be here, the stories that, I can share that are going to inspire them to make them go, actually, he's done it, I could do it as well. Or he's done that and learned from it, and I can learn from him as well. But that's when you can start to build a real community of people who trust you, who want to hear from you, who like the content you're sharing, but it's with the good intention that they're actual people you can help. So yeah, you may grow, you probably will grow slower if you were to spend hours researching what the algorithms are doing, what topics they're pushing, how many words your post should be, should I do an infographic or a video or this or that? Yeah, you can get the impression by doing that. People were doing, when videos first boomed on LinkedIn a couple of months ago, I saw people getting millions, literally millions of impressions on a video, and then saying, I think they referred to it as dry impressions, because they said they had a normal post that they did the day before that maybe got a couple of thousand impressions, same number of likes, same number of comments, and then another post that got over 1 million impressions, the same number of likes and the same number of comments. And they said it, so many people saw it, but it didn't matter because they didn't care.
Yeah, that is true.
So I say, absolutely, the way to do it is the authentic way. And it's to share, it's to know who it is you're trying to reach is the main thing. And then it's the stories to inspire, the stories to build trust with you as a person and put yourself out there. And then the expertise, the things that you've done, the things you're seeing, the thoughts, the opinions that you have, the things that you've done with clients, or the things that you would do if they were facing this problem, all of that good stuff, that it can reach good people, it can reach a good number of people, but it's not going to just reach aimlessly. It's going to reach people that are more aligned, better fit, will spark deeper conversations and, connection and trust and relationships rather than just dry impressions. So, yeah, I think it's, there's plenty of ways to grow on LinkedIn.
It's a great answer. And I'm glad that I asked this question. And I think another great lesson or point here is that you often ask, or sometimes ask those people for how long they've been showing up. But as we've been just speaking, they can hear, like, for example, when you sign up on LinkedIn, that you haven't been there like for a few weeks, but it's been some time. And also that you put the reps in, that we also discussed how many posts, for example, you've written. So obviously you've got experience and it hasn't happened just overnight, which I think is also the secret that people often are looking for.
Tip of the iceberg. People see, They see the good results at the top, but not the huge, all the work behind the scenes that happens often. Yeah.
Exactly. And Luke, just as we will be approaching the end, I've got a few lighter questions. So what is it that you enjoy doing in your free time? Or what are some of your hobbies?
I'm a big fan of walking. I'm a big fan of nature, full stop. So if you could see in my office now, I've got loads of like plants, like house plants over there in like a cabinet. I've got a few on my desk. I mean, there's some behind me over in that corner you could see. I love nature. I love plants and things. So, getting out walking, bike rides, all of that good stuff. I love it. I don't like being cooped up inside for too long.
But believe me or not, but I thought so based on the pictures that you share on LinkedIn, because so many times I see
Yeah.
like a beautiful mountains or countryside or a place like that. I was, wow, it looks
Yeah,
nice.
it's nice. And there's logic behind those pictures as well. It's authentic. It's very me. Most of the pictures there are where I do a lot of thinking anyway and have ideas and solve problems in my own head, which is nice. But it's also, I mean, I've got a client I'm working with now, and he reached out and he said to me, he said, I want to live like you do in the pictures. And he said he said he's in a good job. He's got a great career. He's earning good money. He wants the freedom. Like he wants to go out on these big walks and things doing it. He wants to be able to do all of that. And that's the main reason that he reached out, was just because of the pictures. So it's actually partly brand now, but it's just me.
And I think at the same time it's smart because, for example, when you scroll your feed and you see, let's say, motivational images, AI images, this and that, then there is like a beautiful countryside, a beautiful shot, and you sitting on a rock or something. It just catches my attention.
It does. It's why you'd never think that this was a good idea, but it's why my profile picture on LinkedIn is me wearing sunglasses. I didn't make my account and go, I'm going to do this picture, at all. It was a brand kind of idea. Someone said to me, like, you should do that because it links in with what you do and who you are. And I thought, I'd give it a go and see. And it became a known thing. Like, it just became a thing of me wearing sunglasses because I was always outside. But yeah.
Yeah, it's good and I like it. And then, Luke, do you read any books? And if so, have you got any good ones to share?
I mean, I don't do as much reading as I should. It's one of the things I want to do more of. So I've not got many book recommendations, but I would highly recommend, if you just Google 1,000 True Fans, it's only like a blog article, but it's been around since I think 2008. It comes up straight away. I highly recommend reading that. It's 5-10 minutes read, but it's very, very eye-opening about how the bar isn't probably as high as many people think it is.
I will have a look as well because what we discussed before, it got my attention and sounds really good on what to miss. Then, Luke, we discussed all the stuff, but can you summarize where people can find you, follow you, and promote any of your services?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So LinkedIn is probably the best place for me at the minute. You can just search my name, Luke Redhead. I'll come up, look for a guy wearing sunglasses, and you'll know it's me. From there, obviously, I've got my newsletter as well. I launched a playbook last month before, and in that playbook, I've kind of summarized the strategy that I use. So, it talks through how to build a business, keeping it simple, the content side of things as well, of how to attract the right people and the things to kind of talk about. But there's a section in there that I think will be quite interesting for anyone out there who's wants to be a solopreneur or in that kind of game. And there's a section of it that's called A Different Kind of Success Story. It was quite an honest write that I did, but it talks through, what success can mean, what it could be. It talks through, like, for me, being able to be present for like family and the flexibility and, the kind of success that it's hard to put into numbers, but it talks through a lot of that. And I found it quite interesting when I was writing it. So a few other people have said it was quite interesting. So there's that as well, which is out there. Completely free. It's on my profile. And if you grab that, so you can get into the newsletter and start getting emails from me as well.
Sounds great. And actually, you reminded me, I was about to ask you when I was asking you about the hobbies, if you don't like motorbikes, or I guess you know why I'm asking.
I do. It's I've got a Triumph in the garage at the minute that it's there's a little bit of work I'm doing on it, but yeah, I do. I love it. I've always been a fan of anything with an engine to it. I grew up with the Formula One on every Sunday. My dad was a huge fan as I grew up, and I never got into football or anything like that. I always got into like motorsports and things. So yeah, there's quite a few pictures of me on LinkedIn stood next to a racetrack. Change your scenery, but
Yeah.
but it's cool. I enjoy it. It's good fun. It's nice to go out and just go for a spin on it as well.
Yeah, make sure to scroll through Luke's history of posts on LinkedIn.
You'll see a lot of greenery.
Yeah. And Luke, then the very last question. Is there anything that I should have asked you already not, or any final message that you would like to share before we finish?
I don't think there's anything you should have asked. I think the only other thing I'd want to share maybe is maybe a little bit about how I can help people, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, my whole focus, as I've mentioned, is helping people to build a life through the business and through the content. So, for me, it's not about how getting as many clients as possible. It's about having the right handful of people, knowing how to find them, how to have those conversations, have a few high ticket people that just you gel well with, that you work well with, and it just makes work fun. Building the brand, getting out there, meeting people, opening doors to opportunities and things like that. All of that good stuff is what I help with. So, for anyone out there, if you're interested, if you want to hear more than happy to just, have a conversation, show you a little what it looks like and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, make sure to reach out to Luke. I will add any links to the show notes. And Luke, just want to say a big thank you. I really enjoyed it. You share great content on LinkedIn. I wish you all the best. Happy to stay in touch and do see you anytime in the future. So thank you and wish you good luck.
Thank you very much. The same to you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Produced by with Tomen. Check the show notes for all the links and don't forget to subscribe, like and share your feedback. Speak soon.